class on Zoom. I'm so happy to have you all here with me. Our core connection class is exactly what it sounds like. We are trying to connect our brain to our core, and we do a lot of movements and stretches and strengthening work for not just abs, which is kind of what everybody thinks about when you say core, but also the sides, getting in the obliques and some other stuff here, and then the lower back as well. Particularly lately, I've noticed a lot of my students coming in with compression in the lower back, and I think that it has to do with us not engaging our core for support during the day while we're sitting, while we're standing, and then particularly for movements like lifting. So we've been kind of trying to focus on bringing our awareness back to connecting and strengthening with our core. A lot of our stabilizers are connected to our core, and just having that connection between brain and body is really helpful for all of our movements as we sort of just walk through life. So we'll go ahead and get started with a really gentle warm-up, and then we'll get into some of our more challenging kind of core engagement, strengthening movements. Sitting up nice and tall. Have a big breath in. On the exhale, I invite you to close the eyes. Soften on the forehead, at the corners of the eyes, and at the jaw. And take a few moments to connect with your breath, just feeling the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the body as we breathe in and out through the nose. And if you're ready, go ahead and float the eyes open, and we'll get started with a really gentle movement here. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. Exhale, let the left ear melt towards the left shoulder. I'm looking for a stretch on the right side from the ear towards the shoulder. And if you're good here, we'll just hold this shape. And if you need to deepen the stretch, you can kind of press down, draw down gently with that right elbow, right shoulder to deepen the stretch here. On the next breath in, we'll flip the right fingers off of the leg or out of the lap. And reaching away from the body, imagine creating more distance between the right ear and the right shoulder, and wiggling the fingers, just kind of like everything up here. And then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to find my hand in the shape of like a catcher's glove, like I've slipped on like a catcher's mitt or something here. So the fingers just spread wide with just a little bit of kind of a cup shape in the hand. On the inhale, I'm going to rotate up, feeling that rotation all the way into the shoulder. On the exhale, rotating back. I'm still getting the stretch here. Reaching away from the body. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Back to where we started. And we'll switch sides. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. Exhale, right ear to right shoulder. Letting the stretch settle on the left side. You can just kind of let that left arm hang or sit. If you need a little more, you can draw down gently on the left shoulder, left elbow to deepen the stretch here. And flip the left hand off of the leg or out of the lap. We're going to reach the fingers away from the body. Imagine creating more distance between the left ear and the left shoulder. Wiggling the fingers to kind of like everything up a little bit. And when you're ready, we're going to find that same kind of catcher's mitt shape with the left hand. On the inhale, I'm going to rotate up, feeling that spiral all the way up into the shoulder. Exhale, rotating back. Inhaling up, your breath. Exhaling back. And back to where we started. And exhale, release. On the inhale, I'm going to draw the shoulders up as though I can touch the shoulders to the ears. Exhale, release. 2 more with breath if that felt good. Inhale, drawing the shoulders up. And exhale, letting go. 1 more. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Beautiful. On the next breath in, I'm going to float the arms up. I'm going to drop the shoulders down away from the ears as I'm lengthening the neck. I imagine stacking the shoulders over the hips, and I'm finding my long, neutral, supported spine. I'm paying extra attention to the space between the shoulders that I'm not rounding, and to the lower back that I'm not compressing by pressing the belly forward. But I've got the tailbone tucked, Shoulders over the hips, tailbone tucked slightly forward. I can feel my core supporting the upper body. And then I imagine that I'm reaching out long and pressing slightly down into stacks of books or blocks or whatever underneath my hands. I'm going to let both legs stay nice and heavy. And just breathe here. On the next breath in, we're going to take the arms up. Reach up, maybe look up, the shoulders stay heavy. Exhale, rotate the palms away from each other and press back down. Hands in line with the shoulders. Inhale, rotate up, reach up, maybe look up. Exhale down. One more, imagine stacking wrists over elbows, over shoulders, over hips. And exhale back down. One more breath in on the exhale. I'm going to hinge at the elbows. I'm going to bring the thumbs to the collarbones or just about. You can stack the hands or bring the fingertips just to touch here. Elbows are going to stay about in line with the shoulders. And again, I'm going to let the legs stay heavy. Big breath in. On the exhale, imagine an accordion. We're getting shorter on the left side, we're lengthening on the right side. Really powering this movement from the obliques. I'm going to look over the left shoulder. Slow and steady is the key here. Inhaling back to center. Exhale right. Inhale center. Exhale left. Center. Right. 3 more. You're going to stay with me with your breath. Inhaling center. Shoulders heavy, elbows in line with the shoulders. Exhale left. Center. Here we go. Right. Center. Left. Center. Right. One more each side. Center. Left. Center. Last one. And right. Coming back to center. And exhale, release. Awesome. I want to get a little bit more into the spine, a little bit into the lower back and hips. We've done a little bit of twisting. We've done a good bit with the upper body. On the next breath in, I'm going to float the arms up. Shoulders over the hips, nice and long on the spine. Squeezing between the shoulder blades to bring the elbows over the wrists over elbows, over shoulders, over hips. One more big breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to come into a seated twist to the left. Left hand comes down to the floor, right arm reaches across the body. You can do palm or back of the hand. Inhale, imagine sitting up a little taller. Exhale, we might even look back over that left shoulder. If you'd like, you can rotate the left palm to face behind you, hinge at the elbow, and bring the back of the left hand across the lower back. Imagine kind of trying to hook the fingers into that back right belt loop. The left shoulder moves back and down. We have a half bind. On the next breath in, I'm going to bring the heart space forward. I'm unthreading that left arm. I'm going to bring it to the right knee. Big breath in. Exhale, rounding back. Tuck the chin towards the chest. You might curl the fingers forward. Imagine really kind of puffing up or expanding the space between the shoulders. Imagine laying your upper body over a beach ball and just kind of hugging that beach ball in towards the belly. Sometimes it feels good to just lean a little bit into that right side a little more. Maybe on that left side a little more. And the next breath in, we're going to come up and across the arms, float them back up. Shoulders drop down away from the ears, neutral spine. Imagine stacking joints. One more big breath in. And exhale, seated twist to the right, second side. Bring the right hand to the floor, left hand reaches across the body. You can do palm or back of the hand. Inhale, imagine lengthening. Exhale, soften or settle. Maybe we look back over the right shoulder. And you can turn that right palm away from the body, hinging at the elbow, bringing the right hand across the lower back if you're reaching over for those back left belt loops for a half bind. Right shoulder moves back and down if that's where we are. On the next breath in, unthreading that right arm, bring the heart space forward. We're going to cross the right arm over the left. Inhale, sit all the way up. Exhale, round down. Tuck the chin towards the chest. Imagine kind of puffing up or expanding the space between the shoulders. You can really round to the back, draw the navel towards the spine. Imagine holding a big beach ball or kind of laying the upper body over a beach ball here. Right, feel good to kind of lean into that right or left just a little bit. And inhale, sitting up, uncrossing. I'm going to sit cross-legged if that's accessible with the right leg in front. I'm going to bring my hands just inside of the knees. I pretty much never want to press on a joint in yoga, but inside is fine. I'm going to turn the wrists in and the fingers out. I'm straightening the arms almost all of the way if it's available. I'm not locking out the arms, but I have a little gentle bend in the elbows still. I'm just kind of trying to press length into the spine. So by straightening the arms and lengthening the spine here, big breath in, and on the exhale, right leg is in front, so I'm going to lean to the left. We can always bring a block over so that we can really lengthen here and we're not kind of rounding to stay on the left leg. And I'm gently pressing into that right thigh. I'm still lengthening. Try to keep the heart space square towards me, left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. And if you'd like to get a little bit more into this hip joint, you can make a C shape with that right hand, hook it around the thigh and rotate open to the right to feel a little bit different engagement in that hip. If you'd like, you can even look over the left shoulder to get a nice deep stretch on the right side of the mat. We're looking for a stretch on the right side, but also on the back, on the right side of the back. Move my block out of the way, probably bring your left hand to the floor, maybe back to the left leg. I'm going to go ahead and unhook my C shape, bringing the right palm back to the thigh. On the breath in, I'm going to draw the heart space forward and moving from left to right. Kind of think about a cat-cow movement here. Exhale, rounding back, tucking the chin towards the chest. On the inhale, I'm leading with the collarbones. I'm really reaching forward here. And exhale, rounding back. We'll take a few circles. You can make these as big or as small or as fast or as slow as you'd like. And if you find some in-between place where you're like, oh, that's a good stretch, hang out there for a minute and see sort of what that's about. And when you're ready, we'll come back to center. We're going to switch the cross on the legs, bringing the left leg in front. I'm going to bring my hands just inside of the knees, straightening the arms as much or as little as you'd like. If you used a block on the left side, you might go ahead and get set up over on the right. I have a gentle bend in the elbows. They are not locked out here. I'm just pressing length into the spine. Big breath in, left leg is in front. So on the exhale, I'm going to lean to the right. You're welcome to keep the right elbow on the thigh, or you might choose to bring a block on its medium height or lowest height out to the right. Give yourself some support here. Lengthening, pressing gentle length into that left side with the palm, or making that C shape and rotating the left femur, the left leg, open to the left to get just a slightly different engagement in that hip. I'm going to bring the left shoulder back and the right shoulder forward, so I'm not rounding down here, but keeping the heart space kind of bright and shining open. I might look back over that right shoulder to get a stretch up the left side of the back. Looking for a stretch on the left side, but also on the left quadrant on the back here. So I'm getting a stretch up the side of the body, and then also the back side of the hip, the lower back, just a little bit there too. I'm going to bring the neck forward. I'm going to return the left palm to the thigh and bring the right hand back to the thigh. Inhale, drawing the heart space forward, really rolling the shoulders towards each other. We're moving from right to left now. Exhale, rounding back. Taking these movements as quickly or as slowly as feels good. And again, if you find some in-between spot where you're like, that's kind of a cool stretch, like hang out there. And kind of play around with it, see how it feels, see what that's about. There's not like a right or wrong way to do this, as long as we don't hurt. I am fully in support of all of the exploration of movement and stretch, all of this good stuff. Whenever you're ready, Come on back to center. Move my block out of the way. And we're going to come into a tabletop shape on all fours. This is a great time to bring a little extra padding under the knees if you'd like. And if the wrists are at all talking to you this morning, instead of being in that 90-degree angle on the wrist there, you can bring your blocks onto their medium height. As long as the elbows support the shoulders, I'm happy with this. You can leave the hands straight out. You can let the hands hang. You can interlace the hands, kind of whatever feels good there. And the cool thing about being up on the blocks is that the shoulders are still basically in line with the hips, very similarly to what our height would be here. So knees should be about hip width. Imagine at least 2 fists space between the knees. You can press the tops of the feet into the floor to stretch the ankles, or you can curl the toes to stretch the soles of the feet. Whichever one feels the best on the kneecaps, I would go with that one today. And then join me here with checking the spine. If we're kind of hammocking the spine towards the floor, I'm going to ask you to bring some awareness to the back, and we're going to press into the hands or elbows to lift the heart space up away from the floor. So we're now engaged in the shoulder girdle, and then moving down the back, this little dip in the lower back, we're going to scoop the tailbone forward, just enough to sort of flatten that out. And again, here, we'll feel the lower abdominals come on. We're feeling a little bit of a connection with our core. We're going to bring the neck neutral. Imagine really pressing the crown of the head forward and the tailbone back. And we'll have a few breaths here, pressing into the hands or the elbows, tucking the tailbone forward, just enough to flatten out the little dip in the lower back. One more big breath in, and on the exhale, we'll find our cat shape. If we're on hands, we're pressing hands into the floor, rounding the upper back. If we're on elbows, we're pressing elbows into the blocks, rounding between the shoulders. Let the crown of the head face the floor. Scoop the tailbone forward. Let the navel draw up and in. Feel that big stretch on the back side of the body. On the inhale, we're going to reverse that movement. We're going to press into either the hands or the elbows to draw the collarbones forward, and we're still lifting up in the shoulders. Looking up, and think about pressing the tailbone back rather than up. I don't want to compress the lower spine. I just want to stretch on the underside of the body. Big breath in and exhale back to cat. Inhaling for cat. Exhaling for cat. Start to settle into a rhythm of movement that works for you. You can do 1 breath per movement, 2 or 3 breaths per movement, nice and slow, whatever feels good. And then I encourage you to find a little intuitive movement here. If the hips are feeling tight, it might feel good to kind of windshield like with the hips left or right. If you are on hands and the wrists are feeling tight, you can gently rotate so that the fingers face the long edges of the mat. Fingers are spread wide, and kind of gently shift left and right. You're in control of how much weight you have in the hands and how long we're on each side. Bringing the hands forward. If you want to get into the middle back a little bit, you can press one elbow towards the floor, looking up over the opposite shoulder for a gentle twist. Just make sure we stay even on both sides. You can also kind of look over one shoulder for a good side stretch, kind of like a real slow tail wag here. Whenever you're ready, we'll come back to neutral, back to that long, straight spine, pressing into the hands or the elbows, tucking the tailbone forward. I'm just coming off of my blocks here so that I can demonstrate both ways. If you're still on your elbows on the blocks, that's totally fine. I'm just going to scooch up just a hair, pressing into the hands to engage the shoulder girdle, tucking the tailbone forward just enough that we're not dipping in that lower back there. I'm going to slide that right foot back. Really pressing into the hands, scooping the tailbone forward all the way. Imagine almost like a C shape in the spine. Big breath in, and on the exhale, keeping the tailbone tucked forward. So I'm going to be really careful not to sag the belly button down. Keeping the tailbone tucked forward, I'm going to press into that right heel. I'm always shifting weight forward out of the wrists. Really imagine kind of gripping fingertips into the floor, or we're still on elbows, totally fine. And you can play with really kind of spreading those right toes out and shifting weight into that pinky toe edge of the foot to change which calf muscle is getting the stretch here. If it feels good to let the head just reach straight forward, you can, or you can let the crown of the head hang, kind of release back of the neck between the shoulders a little bit more. Whenever you're ready, gently shifting forward. I'm going to engage the right glute to lift the right heel in line with the hips. I'm being really careful not to use the hip flexor and shoot that foot way high up. But I have a gentle internal rotation, so the right toes and the right knee face down, and I'm using the glute here. And if I lift and lower a few times, I start to feel my glute working, and that's how I know that I'm using the proper muscle engagement there. Big breath in on the exhale. I'm going to step the right foot over the left. I have uncurled the toes and I'm on the top of the foot now. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to press the hips to the right. I'm going to look over the left shoulder, looking back at that right foot. Big stretch on the right side. Again, if you're still on elbows on your blocks, that is fine. That works here. And inhaling back to center. You're going to slowly bring that right foot using the glute back over and down. Getting ready to switch sides, pressing into the hands, scooping the tailbone forward, the left leg out long behind, really pressing into the hands, really tucking the tailbone forward, almost imagine kind of a C shape in the spine. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to lean back into that left foot. We'll switch forward a little bit actually, so that you guys can see me here. There we go. And again, make sure we're not dipping the belly button towards the floor, but keeping the tailbone tucked forward. You can play with spreading those left toes out wide, shifting a little weight into the pinky toe edge of the foot. Really playing with which calf muscle is stretching. You can let the head hang, or just let the neck be a nice natural extension of the spine straight forward. Pushing weight forward out of the wrists, using the middle knuckles, the base knuckles, and the fingertips. And when you're ready, we shift forward, engaging that left glute, internal rotation so that the knee and the left toes face the floor. Again, if we lift and lower, we feel that little contraction in the glute. And that's how we know we're using the proper muscle here to lift the leg. You are not in the hip flexor. Right? The heel should be in line with the hips or the shoulders maybe, but not real high up. And when you're ready, I'm going to step that left foot across the body to the right. I've got the top of the foot on the floor. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to press the hips to the left. I'm going to look over the right shoulder, and I'm going to look back at that left foot. Big stretch on the left side. To center, and just slowly bring that left leg back over to where we started. If you're still up on your blocks, you are ahead of the game. Everybody else, if you don't have blocks, let's go ahead and grab them. If you're already on your blocks, we're all going to take the knees wide, uncurl the toes, bring the big toes to touch, and send the hips down onto the heels. I'm going to take my blocks onto their medium height. So we've got low, medium, and high. I'm on the medium height. And I'm gripping the far edge of the block. I'm holding with the pinky and thumb and wrapping the middle three fingers over the top. I'm staying active in the arms. So I'm going to walk the blocks wide, at least mat width. And I'm slowly going to let the blocks reach or walk forward while I melt the heart space down. The hips are grounding the bottom end of the spine, and the arms and the blocks reach and stretch forward. I've got a big stretch across the pectorals, side to side across the heart space, in the arms and the shoulders, and in the back as well. Maybe the nose comes towards the floor, maybe it's the forehead or the chin. Maybe you're looking at the floor and still quite a ways. Neutral neck. Breathe here. Slowly start to kind of lift the heart space. We're rounding. You can walk those blocks back in just a bit. I'm going to set them off to the side. I'm going to bring my palms to the floor with the elbows flared out left and right. I'm stacking the palms, and I'm going to let the forehead come straight down onto the hands for a modified child's pose with wide knees. Slowly, gently lifting the forehead from the mat. I'm going to bring the palms down, gently pressing into the hands. I'm going to walk the hands back and coming back up through tabletop. I'm walking the knees in until they're hip width. Again, this is a great time to add a blanket or a towel underneath the knees. We're going to be doing some kneeling work here in just a moment. I'm going to grab from my blocks once again, except this time I'm going to take them up onto their highest height underneath the shoulders. If the wrists, again, are not happy in this 90-degree angle, you can always come onto fists. Straightening out the wrists might feel a little bit better. So, yogi's choice. Knees are hip width, tops of the feet on the floor or toes curled, whichever one feels best on the kneecaps. I'm up on my blocks, and I'm going to step that right foot forward. The first thing I want to make sure is that my left knee and my right foot are on train tracks, not on a tightrope. If they're lined up, one in front of the other, it makes balancing really difficult, so we want to widen. And then I want to make sure that my left hip is over my left knee and my right knee is supported by the right ankle. So if we look like this up here, the knee is not supported. Bring that right foot up a little more. When you're ready, lift up, get light in the hands. Maybe we're on fingertips, maybe we're on palms, maybe we're on knuckles. Big breath in, lifting up a little more, and on the exhale, I'm going to reach the arms back. Shoulders roll down away from the ears, and if you notice, I'm not laying on my right thigh. I'm rolling the shoulders down and reaching those hands back. I'm starting to connect again with my core. I'm using the strength of the core here. I'm kind of in this like forward shifted motion. I'm tucking the chin towards the chest just enough to lengthen up the back of the neck, so I'm not cranking the neck up or letting it hang here. On the next breath in, I'm going to scoop all the way up, bringing the shoulders over the hips. I'm going to adjust you guys just a little so that my head is not cut off here for the this. Oh, not quite yet. I've got the shoulders over the hips. I am scooping the tailbone forward. You can let the hands hang or take the hands to the sides or even just let the hands rest on the lower back, kind of whatever feels good there. Got the neck nice and long. By tucking the tailbone forward, I'm starting to connect with the stretch on the front of the left hip flexor. Again, I've got the right knee over the right ankle, left hip over the left knee. One more big breath in here. And on the exhale, if I want a deeper stretch, keeping that tailbone tucked forward, I'm going to shift forward just slightly. If I let the tailbone flare back, I lose the stretch on the front of the left quad. We can also scooch that right foot up to keep that right knee supported. Shifting back to where we started, I'm going to try to face you guys. I'm going to take one block onto its lowest height and one onto its highest height and make a little stack out to my right. I'm tucking the tailbone forward. I'm going to bring my right hand onto this block. Maybe I'm on knuckles, fingertips, palm, whatever kind of feels good. On the next breath in, I'm going to reach that left arm up, lifting from the shoulder, scooping the tailbone forward. Big breath in. I'm going to lean to the right. I'm getting a big stretch on the left side. Right shoulder forward, left shoulder back. Neutral in the neck. The tailbone is still tucked forward. I'm getting a good stretch in the left quad as well. Inhale back up. And exhale. I'm going to come back through for just a few breaths. That lean forward, supported core shape. Look from the side. Looks like this. And I'm going to come back onto the blocks. Stack that right leg back and that left leg forward, and we'll take that whole series on the second side. Left hip over the left knee, right knee over the right ankle. You can have that back foot on the floor or toes curled, whatever feels best on your knee. I'm going to come up onto fingertips, maybe get nice and light in those hands. Big breath in, making sure I'm not arching the lower back. Maybe I took the tailbone forward just a little. Roll the shoulders back and down. And reach those arms back. Using the strength of the core, I'm not laying on my leg here, but I'm holding myself up with my core. I'm stabilizing through the legs. Left foot, right knee are on train tracks, not on a tightrope. Heart space square to the floor. One more big breath in. And on the exhale, I'm going to hinge up, tucking the tailbone forward, shoulders over the hips. And I'm starting to feel that stretch in the front of the right quad. You can let the arms hang. You can take the hands to the hips. Interlace the hands behind your back, heart center, really whatever feels good here. If you like a little deeper stretch, keeping the tailbone tucked forward, we shift forward just a little. And you might scooch that left foot up to keep the knee supported. And then shifting back to where we started. I'm going to turn to face you guys here. I have my blocks on either side. I'm going to take that one block down onto its lowest height and bring the other one up on top. I'm going to bring my left hand down to my blocks, tailbone is tucked forward, float that right arm up. Imagine someone's just gently tugging on that right hand. We lift, big breath in on the exhale and leaning over to the left. You can stay on knuckles, palm, whatever you need here. Tailbone is tucked forward and bringing the left shoulder forward and the right shoulder back. So be careful not to kind of round down to the left. Being nice and long on that right side, and then lean all the way first. Inhale back up. Roll the shoulders down, tailbone stays tucked forward, and I'm going to lean forward. So from the side, do like this. Not laying on that left leg, not dipping in the lower back. Roll the shoulders down and just kind of hinge forward. One more big breath in. And exhale, bring those hands down, step that left foot back. I'm going to come into a seat with the toes curled. I am walking the knees in until they touch. And my little pinky toes kind of dangle, they don't quite touch the floor. So I'm going to reach over and give them a little hand assist, bringing the soles, the little fingertip of the pinky toes down to the floor. And the more weight we sit back on the heels, the deeper of a stretch we're going to get in the soles of the feet. So at any time, if you'd like to kind of take a little break, you can come out of that, you can move forward, you can put some weight on the blocks, and come back into it. Also, again, checking in with the lower back, tucking the tailbone forward and keeping the shoulders heavy. I'm going to bring my blocks onto their highest height and then draw them in a little bit. I'm going to practice working with a bit of a core contraction. Think about kind of like a crunch almost that we do. Big breath in on the exhale. And drawing the knees in. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep moving with that. Also working on some balance here. Definitely have some mobility of the ankles and the toes. If you'd like to really play with your balance, again, I'm pressing the legs into each other. I'm going to come off of my blocks. You can leave them on your side so that you can come back down to them at any point. I'm just going to kind of move my elbows so that you guys can see me a little bit better. I'm going to try to bring the shins parallel to the floor. I'm keeping the tailbone tucked forward, not arching the lower back. And I might lift the hands up and line with the shoulders. And this is core strength here. This is stability and core as well. One more big breath in. And exhale, and slowly come on down. I'm going to bring my blocks back to the medium height. I'm going to come into tabletop, either on my blocks or on my palms with no blocks, your choice. We're going to kind of close out this little tabletop series here. Knees are hip width. I'm going to go ahead and curl the toes this time for sure instead of tops of the feet. I'm going to press into the hands or into the elbows that are right under the shoulders. I'm engaged in the shoulder girdle. I'm tucking the tailbone forward enough to take that little dip out of the lower spine. Reaching the crown of the head forward and the tailbone back. Have a big breath in. And on the exhale, I'm going to hover the knees off of the floor. I'm drawing the knees forward, scooping the tailbone forward. So I am very active, hands to shoulders, core, tucking the tailbone forward and in the quads. And again, if we're on elbows, that's fine as long as the shoulders stay supported. Breathe here. Turbo table. One more breath in. And exhale, slow it down. I'm going to uncurl the toes. I'm going to walk the knees wide. I'm going to bring the big toes to touch. I'm going to walk those hands in and come into a seat. I'm going to scooch forward, actually just a hair so that I stay on camera for you guys. I'm going to take my blocks and I'm going to bring them to their lowest height behind me on the floor. My knees are wide. I'm on the tops of the feet. I'm going to bring my knuckles. So I'm making fists with the thumbs kind of pointing towards the body and the fingers in towards each other. I'm going to bring my knuckles to my blocks with the thumbs pointing towards the body. And I'm going to check in with the shoulders. If I'm really kind of rounding and collapsing between the shoulders, the first thing I'm going to do here on the breath in is press into the hands to lift the heart space. And then I'm going to roll the shoulders towards each other. So I'm squeezing between the shoulders and I imagine kind of lifting from the collarbones here. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to start to squeeze the glutes to press the hips forward. I'm staying lifted in the shoulders, so I'm pressing hands into the blocks to lift, squeezing the shoulders together, and I might extend to the back. I'm going to be really careful not to drop the head back. A long neck is okay. If you don't feel comfortable there, keep the chin tucked slightly towards the chest. Squeezing the glutes, pressing the hips forward, pressing in the hands, big breath in and out. One. And on the exhale, we can start to lower down out of our baby camel and come off of those hands. I'm going to shake the hands out. And I interlace the hands, press the palms away from the body and release. All right. Continuing with our connection to core, I'm going to show you guys a few more movements that are some of my favorites. Sort of working on the muscles that support a lot of our favorite yoga poses. So I'm going to swing the feet out from underneath. I'm going to bring the feet to the floor and keeping the knees bent. A lot of us have played around with boat pose or Navasana, and there are a ton of different variations. Most of us start with the feet on the floor and the knees bent with a straight spine. Maybe we're holding behind the thighs and we kind of lean back a little bit until we start to feel the abdominal muscles in the front come on to support the upper body. This is a great way to start to connect with those muscles that we'll need in order to support us in our boat pose. But one of my favorite modifications here is to grab a block and place it between the knees. And I like to press in like I'm trying to crush the block. Think about like an empty Coke can or something. And for me, that really stabilizes and engages the lower body too, so that I'm not just only focused on the upper body, but that my lower body is really strong and supported here as well. So my feet are on the floor, my knees are bent. I've got a block between my knees and I'm pressing the knees into each other. You can bring the hands to the front of the knees. You can bring the hands behind the thighs. First thing I'm going to do is roll the shoulders down and find my neutral spine. If I'm really rounding here or I'm overarching, I'm going to try to find just a long, neutral, straight, supported spine. So I'm probably going to hold behind the thighs so you guys can see. And you can also use a strap back here, which is another really nice modification, which might look something kind of like so. I'm not going to use the strap today because I want to really test my alignment and see how I'm feeling with my spine here. Big breath in. On the exhale, hinging from the hips, keeping the spine straight. Notice I'm not rounding here. I'm going to hinge back. I'm trying to really stay conscious and connected to my lower back, so I'm not arching there. And I'm getting lighter in the hands. I'm still squeezing the block. I might lift the hands in line with the shoulders, rolling the shoulders down away from the ears, squeezing the block, and I'm really starting to feel some heat in the core. If you need more of a challenge, you can try raising the arms a little more, or you can even come up onto toes. You might even lift the feet without losing that long spinal shape. You're still squeezing the block. You can try straightening the legs a little bit too to make this even harder. One more breath in. Exhale, lower those feet down. I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to remove my block. I'm going to separate the feet. I'm just going to roll forward. Slowly sitting back up. I have one more compound movement, working on all those stabilizers and those obliques and the abdominal muscles. Similar to our boat pose. If you guys have ever played around with Navasana much, sometimes we move from high boat to low boat, which looks something kind of like this. High boat, low boat. High boat, low boat. So in our low boat, the shoulders are lifted and we're pointing the feet. So there's a lot going on in the core, in the quads, in the shoulders, and in the neck, obviously too, to lift. And I find sometimes that we kind of strain or like really tighten up the neck along that shape. So I've been playing with some ways to work on those stabilizers so that we can move from high to low to high to low, and stay nice and strong without really kind of tightening the neck so much. So we're going to need a block, and we're going to leave the feet on the floor and the legs straight. And I'm flexing the feet, and I'm going to float. You can hold this any way you want. I'm going to float my block forward to start. And on the exhale, I imagine drawing circles. I'm kind of trying to make my circles as big as possible and keeping the spine pretty straight, trying not to round or overarch. Let's do maybe one more. And now we go switch directions and draw the circles the other way. Slow and controlled is definitely the move here. Just kind of playing around with, when I change my circles, how does that change the engagement? What about arms up? What about big circles with the arms? What about more like forward and backwards with just little circles? I'm just seeing how these movements feel in your body. Maybe this will be my last one. Beautiful. And this will be our last core connection and core challenge movement for today. I'm going to leave the feet flexed. I'm holding the block in line with the shoulders. I'm sitting up nice and tall, shoulders melting down away from the ears. Big breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to roll down as slowly as I can, keeping that block straight out in front. Big breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to try to leave the shoulders off the floor for as long as possible. I might stop and have a few breaths here. Really pressing that block down towards the feet. And release. Beautiful. Let's switch down a little bit. Try to stay on camera here. I'm going to bend the knees, bring the feet to the floor. I'm going to take one hand to the heart, one to the belly. Have a big breath in. And on the exhale, I'm going to scoop the tailbone up, pressing the arch in the lower back down into the floor. I'm not coming into a bridge pose. Maybe imagine that you're holding like a bowling ball right on top of the belly button, and it's pressing the spine behind the belly button flat down into the mat. If you have a strap, we can use a strap here. If you don't, that's fine. I'm going to take my strap to the front of my right shin, about halfway up, or maybe a little closer to the knee. I'm holding one end of the strap in each hand, and I'm going to cross the right ankle over the left thigh, keeping the right foot flexed. Big breath in, make sure the shoulders and the head are on the floor. On the exhale, I'm going to draw the legs in towards the belly. If you don't have a strap, we can reach the right hand through this little window, left hand outside of the left leg, and you have a couple of options. You can interlace the hands behind the left thigh, or for a deeper stretch on the front of the right shin. Either way, shoulders melt down. Imagine bending at the elbows to bring the legs towards your belly. We're looking for a deep stretch on the outside of the right leg from the hip towards the knee. And we're also stretching the spine here a bit, shoulders heavy, head heavy. Right foot stays flexed, do the whole stretch to protect the right knee, and that left foot can just kind of do whatever feels right. Gently releasing that left leg down. I'm going to slide that right knee on top of the left, so my knees are crossed. I'm going to bring my arms out into a T shape, nice and wide. If I still have the strap, I'm just going to send it off to the side. Big breath in, and on the exhale, both knees are going to fall to the left. You can take the left hand to the top of the right knee to help guide down, but we really want to leave this right shoulder heavy on the mat. You can take the neck neutral looking up, or you can look out over the right hand and try to work on getting that right shoulder nice and heavy. This is a modified supine twist. Gently bring the neck back to neutral. We're going to bring the knees back to center, uncross the legs, and we'll get ready to switch sides. So if we're using our strap, we're going to take our strap to the front of the right shin, about halfway up or maybe a little bit higher. And then I'm going to cross the left ankle over the right thigh, keeping the left foot flexed. Big breath in, and on the exhale, draw the legs in towards the belly. If you do not have a strap, no worries. Reach the left hand through the little window here, right hand outside of the right leg, and you can interlace the hands behind the right thigh, or on the front of the right shin. Big breath in, and on the exhale, we press the shoulders down, we bring a bend into the elbows, and we're looking for a stretch on the outside of the left leg from the hip towards the knee, keeping that left foot flexed for the whole stretch, please. That right foot can flex, it can point, it can just relax, kind of whatever feels good there. Let the belly get soft and the back get long. Softening the jaw and the face. And whenever you're ready, let that right foot come down. I'm going to slide that left knee on top of the right, like I'm sitting cross-legged. I'm going to bring my arms out into a T shape. Big breath in. Move away from my mirror. On the exhale, I'm going to let both knees fall to the right. You can take your right hand to the left knee to help guide down, but we really want to leave the shoulder heavy. If you notice the shoulder coming up, bring the shoulder back down, and maybe don't come as far into the twist in the bottom half of the body. You can also bring support under the outside of the legs with like a bolster or a block or something if you'd like. You can bring the neck neutral or tend to look out over that left hand. If you're having trouble keeping that shoulder on the ground, you can try bending at the elbow,
And that usually helps us press down through the shoulder a little bit to stay grounded so we're not rolling up. Gently bring the neck back to neutral. We're going to just slowly bring the knees back up and crossing our legs. I'm going to tuck the knees in towards the belly. I'm going to bring the hands to the front of the shins. And I'm just going to roll left and right, rocking gently, kind of massaging out the lower back, backside of the hips, where we have a deep twist. Coming back to center, big breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to tuck in, bringing the nose towards the knees and the knees towards the nose, stretching the spine. Making the tiniest little shape I can. One more big breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to release and make my way into my final resting shape, finding any Shavasana of choice. You're welcome to just lay out, taking out as much space as you'd like. You're also welcome to utilize props in any way you'd like. If you want to bring a bolster under the back of the knees to support a gentle bend in the knees, you can. If you've got a blanket handy and you'd like to bring a blanket underneath the head, neck, and shoulders, you're welcome to do that as well. If there's some other variation here that you'd like, please feel free to find it and take it. Basically, we just want to get really supported so that we can relax, we can melt all the muscles, and we're not having to use much energy to hold the shape that we're in. Invite you to close the eyes, have a big, full, deep breath in, fill all the way up. And on the exhale, let it go through the mouth. Sinking a little heavier down into the props, down into the mat, down into the floor. Letting the feet kind of melt, maybe the ankles fall up into the left and right. And maybe a gentle, heavy, but supported bend in the knees. Let the hips be heavy and kind of ground the bottom end of the spine that unrolls all the way up to the shoulders. Heavy. Arms, hands, and fingers are soft. The neck and the head are neutral and well aligned. And one more time, we bring a little softness to the jaw, creating a little space between the upper and lower teeth. A little softness to the corners of the eyes and to the space right between the brows and the forehead. Keeping your eyes closed, slowly start to bring awareness back to your breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose and feeling the rise and fall of the breath in your body. And you might find fingers and start to stretch in the hands. And maybe take small movements in the fingers. And you might find the toes and kind of wiggle the toes. And start to take small movements in the ankles and the feet. You might even reach the arms out long overhead and have a big full body stretch. Hands all the way to feet. And whenever you're ready, with absolutely no rush or hurry from you, bend the knees and gently roll onto your right side, maybe even resting your ear on the tricep. And find just another moment of pause. Whenever you are ready, carefully make your way back into an upright position. Bringing the shoulders over the hips, finding your neutral spine. Crown of the head floating up tall, staying soft in the face. And staying connected with breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Slow things. It was my absolute pleasure to get to share practice with you today. Thank you so much for making time for yourself and for sharing your practice with me.